Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about some breaking news. IO9 is reporting that James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, is going to be writing Suicide Squad 2 for Warner Brothers. This is really cool news. Unfortunately, we know that Disney had let James Gunn go during the summer, around the time of Comic-Con, if I remember correctly. And so Disney let him go, and everybody was up in arms. Some people at first were like saying good riddance because what he wrote was really stupid, but the problem was he said them a long time ago, and a lot of people were pointing that out. Like, James Gunn was aware and apologized for those things a long time ago when those were brought up before the first Guardians movie came out. So why are we ripping him apart after all these years later? Because he said those like almost 10 years ago. So it didn't make sense why Disney was firing him when they had already known about it a long time ago, and they were only taking action after all these years later just because of a political reason why he was fired. Someone who was on the far right wanted to get James Gunn in trouble, and because of this Me Too movement and all that, the person brought up these old tweets that were discovered a long time ago, but because of all this movement that's been going on, knew it would get him even more in trouble now. And it worked. Disney reacted to the news and got rid of him. So everybody kind of knew that if they were Warner Brothers, the smart play here would be to snatch James Gunn now that he's no longer working for Disney and Marvel, and maybe throw him into the DC universe. And Suicide Squad 2 is not a bad choice. So I am totally for this. I am someone that thinks, James Gunn... I think James Gunn has... we have to let him grow as a person. And we can't let him be punished for things that he'd done in his past. Now, if those things were to be done today, I agree. I think he should be let go and throw the bum out. Let him go to rehabilitation or something like that. Let him get some help. But he is no longer like that as far as we know. And we shouldn't judge people on what they did in the past. We should judge them for who they are now. And James Gunn is a lefty, he fights for the left. He doesn't think Trump is right. Whatever your political views are, though, that's his political views. He's allowed to express his opinion on Twitter and not get in trouble for for the sins of his past. We shouldn't forget the things that he's done in the past or said in the past. He should always be held accountable for it, but if he's a changed man, give him that chance. This is great news for DC. I think DC needs this kind of help, someone who worked in an experienced universe. James Gunn has that style that he can make characters who seem very odd work together. If you go back and watch the first Suicide Squad movie, you can see that that's a movie that feels like it was trying to be its Guardians of the Galaxy. That was supposed to be DC's answer to Guardians of the Galaxy. And for a lot of people, it failed. And I agree, it's not one of the strongest DC EU movies. It's my least favorite. Even though I had fun with it, I do see the weaknesses with it. So there you go on that. James Gunn is a perfect fit. Will he direct the movie? I hope so. I hope James Gunn will direct this movie. And because I do think DC and Warner Brothers needs that success right now. And with James Gunn's help, I think they'll come up with something really good together. And that is if Warner Brothers and DC does not step over James Gunn's foot. Maybe he sees you know what, I'll write for you guys, but directing, I've seen the problems you guys had with your directors. I'm not going to direct that. If DC and Warner Brothers would just let James Gunn do his thing, they've obviously seen what James Gunn can do for Marvel. Big money. And I think DC wants that big money. So I say, let James Gunn do his thing. Say, hey, look, we'll give you whatever you want to direct, especially since it seems like they're building up to nothing. If this is like its own individual movie, which it seems like it might be, because the report is also saying that the movie is not going to be a reboot, but it's not going to be a direct sequel. So whatever that means, I'm guessing that will allow James Gunn a lot of freedom on what he can do with this story. So I'm looking forward to this story. This is actually news for DC that I'm actually really excited about, especially since we already got the first Suicide Squad movie. You might as well stick with it. I would still love a Superman movie. I think a lot of people would. Man of Steel 2. Henry Cavill. Come on, man. I know it's Warner Brothers' call. And Warner Brothers knows how pissed we get when we hear bad news that Henry Cavill is not going to be returning as Superman. But hey, Suicide Squad is already a done deal. It happened. So fine. Give us a sequel to that. Let's see what you can do to make it better. So with that being said, guys, tell me your thoughts on Suicide Squad 2 with James Gunn directing. Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think WB and DC should move on for someone else to direct, maybe to write as well? With that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, especially if you're a huge fan of DC or Marvel. I'm a fan of both. And with that being said, until next time, take care.